and welcome back to my channel, and happy very belated new year. My name's Jill, and today I'm going to go through my top 5 books, movies, and TV shows of 2023. I read 55 books last year, and I tried really hard to narrow that down to my top 5, but I do have a long list of honorable mentions as well. So to start off my top 5, I have The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell. So this centers around the contestants in a baking competition, think like the Great British Bake Off, and it takes place at the manor of the host of the show, who is like a world-renowned baker. Somebody ends up murdered, and it becomes a murder mystery. On the front of the cover, it does say it's like Clue meets the Great British Bake Off. That's exactly what it is. I loved this so much. I love the multiple POVs and the isolated location. Those are like my 2 favorite things in a mystery novel. I did see some of the twists coming, but overall it was just such a great read. And I gave The Golden Spoon 4.5 stars out of 5. My next book on my top 5 is It's One of Us by J.T. Ellison. This centers around a couple, and the wife really wants to have children, but she's dealing with some infertility issues. And then the police show up at her door, and there was a murder, and at the crime scene, the prime suspect's DNA matches her husband's son. So obviously some past secrets come out. This does have a lot of twists and turns, but I found it was deeply rooted in reality, which I really appreciated, and I couldn't put it down. I just want to see what was going to happen. There is a personal message from the author at the end, which I really appreciated. This book does deal with some heavy themes like infertility, sexual assault, mental illness, so just keep that in mind. But I really enjoyed this mystery, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, we have Go as a River by Shelley Reed. When I started reading this, it really gave me Where the Crawdads Sing vibes, just in the way that things were described in such detail that I really felt like I was there. It is a historical fiction. This is not a thriller, but there are so many twists and turns in this. I truly did not know what was going to happen next, which I really liked. It's just a really beautiful, unique story. It does deal with some heavy topics and does deal with substance abuse as a theme, so just keep that in mind. And I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book on my top 5 is Page Boy by Elliot Page. When I first learned that Elliot was going to be writing a book, I knew I had to pre-order it and read it as soon as possible. I'm a huge fan of Elliot, and one thing I really liked is where he's from, Nova Scotia. I am too, so reading the story, I could really picture some of the settings and areas that he was talking about, and it just made it come to life a lot more for me personally. I really liked the writing style. I felt like I was writing letters that my friend had written me, and I just really appreciated all of the stories that he shared. Obviously, this book has a lot of heartbreaking moments and really showcases the turmoil that the LGBTQIA+ community faces on a daily basis. I just really appreciated Elliot taking the time to share his story, and I wish him the best in life always. And I rated Page Boy 5 out of 5 stars. My final top 5 of 2023 is The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. Again, when I knew Britney was writing a book, I knew I would have to read it. I really appreciated being able to hear her story in her words instead of what the media or her family wants us to hear. I know I've seen a lot of criticism about her writing style or the fact that she used a ghostwriter, and honestly, that's just not the point. This isn't supposed to have flowery prose and sweeping metaphors. This is about Britney being able to share her experience in her own words and take control of that narrative. She has been silenced for so long, and she has endured so much trauma in her life, and she just deserves the world, and I'm so glad that I was able to read about her experiences. So I gave The Woman in Me 5 out of 5 stars. Now I'm gonna kind of rapid fire through my honorable mentions. So the first 2 did actually come out in 2023. So the first is The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. This is a great mix of thriller and historical fiction. It's a quick read, has a big payoff, and it's full of twists and turns. It does deal with some child loss themes, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next is I'm Not Done With You Yet by Jessie Q. Septanto. This is a thriller about a sociopath, and part of it takes place at Oxford. It was made for me. I did not want to put this down. I was completely absorbed by it. The one thing is I wish it had ended a little bit sooner. I didn't love the ending and wish that the last 3 chapters just weren't there. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Next are my honorable mentions for books that were released prior to 2023. Starting off with probably my favorite read of the whole year. I'm sure you've already read it. Came out in 2017, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is full of drama, full of heart. It has complex characters. I truly didn't want to stop reading it. I loved it so much. It's perfect. It does deal with some physical sexual assault and some substance abuse themes. I love this book so much, and I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Next is On a Night Like This by Lindsay Kelk. This was my first book by Lindsay, and I fell in love with her writing style. It's so funny and relatable and just cozy. I just love it so much. I can't wait to read more of her books. And I also gave this 5 out of 5 stars. My next honorable mention came out in 2018, and that is Next Year in Havana. And this is one of Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine book club picks. Again, another historical fiction, but it takes place in multiple timelines. So in 2017, present day, there's a writer whose family is from Cuba, and she's traveling there to write a story. And then on the other side, we have in the 50s in Havana, and it's telling the story of her family. It has great characters, some really touching love story elements, and it focuses on the political climate in Cuba, which admittedly I do not know a lot about, so it was really nice to learn about that through this story. This is the first book in a series. I have not read the rest yet, but I look forward to that. And I gave Next Year in Havana 5 out of 5 stars. Next honorable mention is The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hilderbrand. Ellen is the queen of beach reads, and this focuses on the staff at the Hotel Nantucket on Nantucket Island and the drama that comes with working with people closely like that. I just loved it so much. It's the perfect read for summer. It's very character driven, which I love, and it just makes you want to visit Nantucket Island, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, and this is a really cozy romance, but it does focus on some deeper themes as well, which I really appreciate it. I loved the main characters, I love the writing style, and I can't wait to read more of her books. Like I said, this does have some heavier themes and deals with some emotional abuse and PTSD, so just keep that in mind, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Next is The Younger Wife by Sally Hepworth. I loved this. It's a thriller family drama and has multiple POVs, kind of an unreliable narrator. It's a little more nuanced than that, but I loved it so much. I really recommend this, but it does have some themes surrounding miscarriage, sexual assault, and abuse, so just keep that in mind. And I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. Next is The Overnight Guest by Heather Cuddenkoff, and this book scared me so bad. I don't know if it's because I was reading on my e-reader, so it was like pitch black, no lights on, just the light from my e-reader, but my heart was pounding and I literally had to stop reading sometimes because I was getting so scared. I really liked how the past and present timelines kind of interwove with each other, and this became one of my new favorite thrillers. It does have a storyline surrounding a miscarriage and has some graphic violence, so just keep that in mind. And I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. The next honorable mention is The Night Shift by Alex Finley. The first thing I heard about this was that it starts off by taking place in a Blockbuster video store, and I was sold. So basically it's a thriller that takes place on New Year's Eve of 1999, so right before Y2K. It then flashes forward to the present day where the survivor of an attack is kind of still looking into this mystery. I really loved how everything came together in the end of this. As a warning, there is some self-harm and violence in this, but I rated it 4.5 stars out of 5. So my next honorable mention is a series that came out a very long time ago, and I finally got around to reading it, and that is The Lord of the Rings. I've had this box set for probably 8 years now. It also came with The Hobbit, which I did read, loved it, but as soon as I finished, I tried to pick up The Fellowship of the Ring, and it was just too heavy for me. I was still in like my Hobbit mindset, and I couldn't get into The Lord of the Rings. I'm glad I finally decided to read them this year. I gave The Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers 4 stars, and Return of the King 4.5. That was definitely my favorite of the series. My favorite part is Sam and Frodo's friendship. I just love them so much. Sam is my favorite character. I mean, obviously it's a great series, and now I'm gonna have to watch the movies. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. The next 3 honorable mentions are autobiographies. So the first is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. This is such a heart-wrenching, raw, powerful story. It's so brave of Jennette for telling her story in this way. It's one of my favorite autobiographies. I think it's so well written and I just couldn't put it down. Obviously, it deals with a lot of heavy topics and childhood trauma and really delves into those themes, so just keep that in mind. But it's such a powerful story, and I'm so glad I finally read it. Honestly, a main takeaway from this is child actors deserve so much more protection and support. So I rate it, I'm glad my mom died, 5 out of 5 stars. Next, we have Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton, who plays Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter series. I really enjoyed learning about Tom's early life and him being cast in Harry Potter and what filming was like, but what I really appreciate about it was the last third, where he really gets vulnerable and talks about mental health and the stigma that surrounds that. He just made some really amazing points in that final chapter as well, and they will stick with me for a long time. So if you're a fan of Harry Potter, or if you're not, this is such a great book. And I rate it Beyond the Wand, 5 out of 5 stars. Next, we have A Billion Years by Mike Rinder. You may know Mike from his TV show podcast with Leah Remini, focusing on the cult of Scientology. I consider Mike a true hero. I think it is remarkable that he is such a caring, selfless person despite all of the abuse and trauma that he has gone through in his life. I recommend reading this whether you know everything about Scientology or you know nothing about Scientology. It is so eye-opening and it really digs deep into the cult. And I rate it A Billion Years, 5 out of 5 stars. And my final honorable mention is a book that comes out in 2024. I received an advance copy from NetGalley of The Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth, and I loved it. I read it when I was traveling for work and I finished it on one flight. It was so good. The three main characters are very unique, but I love how their stories come together. It does deal with some heavier themes and has some abuse, physical, sexual, and substance abuse themes, so keep that in mind if you're going to read this, but I highly recommend you check it out when it is on sale, April 23rd, 2024. Finally, that wraps up my top 5 books and honorable mentions for 2023. Let's move on to my top 5 movies of 2023. For this category, I won't mention any honorable mentions that didn't come out in 2023 because I'm somebody who likes to watch a lot of comfort movies. So, you know, I'm watching Easy A and She's the Man and 13 Going on 30 all the time. I'm not going to talk about those because those are evergreen favorites, and I'll just focus on new releases. So the first movie on my top 5 is Barbie, and I don't think there's anything else I can say about Barbie that hasn't been said before. I just love it. I saw it the first time in the theater with my close friends, and of course we were all wearing pink and it was a packed theater and it was just such a great experience. Then I took my mom to see it in the theater as well. It's just fantastic. Like, I just love it. I could watch it every single week forever. I love the costumes and the music and the colors and the sets. It's just beautiful. So obviously I gave Barbie 5 out of 5 stars. Next is Saltburn, which came out at the end of 2023. I'm obsessed with it. I love Emerald Fennell, I love Promising Young Woman, and now Saltburn. I wasn't able to see it in theater. It didn't come to my small town theater, so I had to wait until it was streaming. So by that time, I had seen people like talking a lot about how uncomfortable they were during certain scenes. So I was kind of nervous to watch it. I was like, what is this going to be? And I don't know if it's because I watch a lot of different movies. I try to broaden my horizons and watch a lot of different genres and movies from different countries and things like that, but I didn't find anything overly shocking. Everything served the plot, in my opinion, so it kind of made sense. That being said, I just thought the acting was phenomenal. I loved the visuals of it. I loved the story. I loved the setting. Everything about it was just perfect. I could watch it again and again. It's great. And since I'm obsessed with Saltburn, of course I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next we have Oppenheimer, obviously the other giant movie of the summer. I obviously liked Barbie more, but only because of the rewatchability. I could watch Barbie all the time. Oppenheimer's a little bit heavier and, you know, I'm not going to watch that on a weekly basis, but I loved the score, I loved the visuals, the sound mixing was incredible in it. I just loved it so much. The only thing is it's so long. Like, I don't know why movies have to be so long now. Let's just shorten them back up a little bit because it's getting a little ridiculous. Other than that, loved it, great movie, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, we have Asteroid City, which was directed by Wes Anderson. I'm a huge fan of Wes Anderson, and I didn't see this for quite a while. I actually watched it on an airplane when I was traveling for work. It seems kind of silly to watch a movie that you're looking forward to on an airplane, but it actually kind of calmed me down and helped my anxiety a lot, because obviously Wes is very symmetrical and calming, and it was just very peaceful for me to watch on the plane. So I actually really liked that experience that I had. I really appreciate how Asteroid City deals with grief, and I think it's a really beautiful story. It's a Wes Anderson film, so that's what you're gonna get, but I loved it, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Final movie on my top 5 list is No Hard Feelings, and this is kind of raunchy rom-com starring Jennifer Lawrence. I loved this. I thought it was really funny. I was laughing out loud. I thought it was a fresh take on the genre. I will admit, at first, the plot of it all, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. Like, how are they going to do this in a way that doesn't make me feel uncomfortable? But I think they did a really good job with it. It's obviously a comedy, but it's deeper than that too, and I thought Jennifer Lawrence was incredible in it. She can do anything. I want to be her best friend. Yeah, I just really had a good time watching it, so I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I have a few honorable mentions. So the first is Still, which is the documentary by Michael J. Fox. I am a huge fan of his, and I was really excited to watch this documentary, and I really appreciated the use of his own film footage that they included in it. It really brought his story to life, and I just thought it was really well done, so I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. Next, we have You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah, which is Adam Sandler and basically his whole family. I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan, so I really loved this movie. I thought it was very cute, and I just really appreciate when high school movies have kids that look like they're actually in high school in them. So that was definitely a plus for me. I thought it was funny and really heartwarming, so I also gave that 4 out of 5 stars. Next, we have Totally Killer, which is a scary movie, comedy, slasher, think around the same genre as like Scream or something like that. I had a really good time watching this. I thought it was funny. It was a unique concept. That is the type of scary movie that I like, something with a lot of comedy in it. So I also gave that 4 out of 5 stars. My last honorable mention are the 4 Wes Anderson shorts that were based on Roald Dahl short stories that dropped on Netflix. I didn't hear a lot about these before they came out, but like I said, I'm a fan of Wes Anderson, so I checked them out. There was The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, The Ratcatcher, Poison, and The Swan. Henry Sugar was definitely my favorite. It's also the longest of the 4. Close second would be Poison. I really liked how the stories were told, and it was just a nice way to spend like 20-40 minutes. Those are all of my movies for 2023. Next, moving on to TV shows. So the first TV show on my top 5 is Shrinking, which is on Apple TV Plus and has Jason Segel, Harrison Ford, and Jessica Winters in it. And they are all therapists, so it kind of focuses around Jason Segel's character's life at work and his personal life. It's such a great portrayal of being a human, I think. I just really loved how the stories were told in the episodes, and I cannot wait for season 2. Next is the Beckham documentary. I am not a sports girly. I know nothing about soccer, but so many of my favorites this year actually revolved around soccer, which is funny to me. Obviously, I know who David Beckham is, but I really enjoyed this. I liked hearing about their personal life and that they really did get deep into the stories and they were really real about it. But also I loved seeing like the soccer matches, and of course I didn't know what was going to happen, so it was very suspenseful for me. And yeah, I think if you haven't watched this because you're like, I don't care about sports, it's just a really good story about 2 people who love each other as well. Next is Yellow Jackets, which season 2 came out in 2023. I actually binged season 1 in 2023 before season 2 came out and then watched that. And I just love this show. It's about a girls' high school soccer team that gets in a plane crash in Northern Ontario on their way to a match. Oh, soccer again. I never even put that together. Okay. Obviously, they are stranded in the wilderness and they have to survive. You can kind of connect the dots from there. It does deal with some heavy topics, but I think the acting is so well done. The casting is superb. And I just love that show. I know a lot of people didn't really love season 2 as much as season 1. I did, and I can't wait to see where the story goes from here. Next, getting back on the soccer train, is Welcome to Wrexham. Season 2 came out in 2023. Again, I had binge watched season 1 before that. I just love this show. I, again, know nothing about soccer, but I love how they incorporate the people close to the club and in the community, and it's really highlighting what it means to them. It made me want to watch soccer until I realized I like watching the matches in the show because it's interspersed with the real life people. I just like that it's not all about Ryan and Rob or just about the matches. It's about the community and what it means to them and how it affects the town, and yeah, I just love it. And the last show of my top 5 is The Morning Show on Apple TV+. This with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. Season 3 came out this year, and I just love this show. It is so dramatic, and I love it. Specifically this season, Greta Lee did such a great job, and Jon Hamm was fantastic. Can't wait for the new season to come out, and I just love this show. If you haven't watched it and you like drama, this is the show for you. I have 3 honorable mentions of shows that ended this year. So that's Ted Lasso, Sex Education, and Never Have I Ever. Ted Lasso, I didn't love this season the most, but as the series as a whole, I love it so much. Again, soccer theme, but it's such a feel-good show. It's something that I would watch over and over again. Never Have I Ever, I actually loved the last season. It's such a great comedy. It's so funny, like there's so many laughs each episode. And this is an example of a high school show that the kids do not look like they are in high school to me. I'm sorry, but I still love it. And Sex Education, again, didn't love the final season as much as the series as a whole, but the music in that show and just the relationships and the stories that they focus on, I love it so much. And I'm so sad that I will never have a new season of Sex Education to watch. And my last 3 honorable mentions are in the reality TV category. So the first, obviously, is Vanderpump Rules. That season last year was insanity. It was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it for good reason. It was so dramatic. I loved it. It's what reality TV should be. So I cannot wait for the new season to come out. And to piggyback off that, we have Dancing with the Stars, which Ariana was on this past season. I love Dancing with the Stars. I watch it every single season. It's one of my favorite shows. I really enjoyed this past season, and I love seeing the growth of the celebrities and seeing them really get into it. So yeah, if you for some reason have never watched Dancing with the Stars, it is such a good reality competition show. And finally, we have the Real Housewives franchise. My 3 standouts for last year were the new cast of New York City. I loved them. I thought that was great. I really enjoyed Salt Lake City, which is ending in 2024, but I really, really liked that season. And then Beverly Hills, which started a little bit at the end of 2023. I think that's going to be a great season as well. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 books, movies, and TV shows, along with some honorable mentions for 2023. Let me know in the comments what your favorite books, movies, and TV shows were last year, and what you're reading or watching now, so I can add all of those things to my never-ending lists. And I will see you in the next video.